ADCT World News, and now inside Prime with me, Vanshika Agarwal. India's Supreme Court scraps electoral bonds for political parties fund. Russia on lead in warfare on Ukraine. But first we start with global headlines.
Друзі, ми ще не починаємо, стараємося. Welcome to the Inside Prank with me, Vanshika Agarwal. India's Supreme Court on Thursday scrapped a 7-year-old election funding system that allows individuals and companies to make unlimited and anonymous donations to political parties, called it unconstitutional. The decision is seen as a setback for Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Bharatiya Janata Party, which has been the largest beneficiary of the system introduced in 2017.
That we have got from the Supreme Court in the last 5-7 years. It is a great boon for democracy. We were all concerned for the last so many years. Everyone who loves democracy was protesting about it. I myself wrote several articles and spoke to the media many times. And every issue that we had raised has been tackled in this judgment from whatever we heard in the judgment.
BJP leaders defended the electoral bond scheme, stating that its objective was to bring transparency in poll funding.
चुनाव में पारदर्शिता हो फंडिंग में, इसके लिए लाया गया था। चुनाव में कैश का प्रभाव कम हो, उसके लिए भी लाया गया था। इस बात को समझना बहुत जरूरी है। और भी कई तरीके से चुनाव में सुधार के लिए जितना प्रयास करना है, वो काफी किया गया है। ये भी उसी प्रामाणिक प्रयास में चुनाव को पारदर्शी बनाने का प्रयास था। अब माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने एक फैसला किया है, तो हम उनका सम्मान करते हैं।
Honorable Supreme Court has said today is basically held that in the electoral bonds the information should come out. The larger perspective is that this has been a journey for several decades, and the concern has been how to prevent black money or slush money getting into the electoral process. Keeping concerns regarding identities of the contributors in mind, a scheme came. The Honorable Supreme Court has held that this scheme in this format could not have been there. So therefore it has passed a set of directions. Now any order of the Supreme Court or judgment has to be accepted, has to be respected.
Senior Congress leader and Karnataka Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivakumar welcomed the verdict, calling it a historic decision.
It is a big decision of the history of India. I think we fully salute them for their brave decision. I think country needs such type of change. It is not for it to save democracy and to save all of them. I think they have taken a bold decision. I think I'm sure that even they will go even to the grassroots level, to even including the voter level. Voter level has to be such type of decisions to be gone to the voter level.
Aam Aadmi Party leader and minister in the Delhi government, Gopal Rai, expressed hope that the Supreme Court's verdict would bring transparency in the election process.
लंबे समय से ये प्रश्न उठ रहे थे कि इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड के माध्यम से कहीं न कहीं सरकार लोगों को प्रभावित करके और जो पूरी एक फेयर लोकतांत्रिक प्रक्रिया होनी चाहिए, उसका आर्थिक प्रबंधन होना चाहिए, उसको कहीं न कहीं प्रभावित कर रही है। सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने जो ये फैसला लिया है, मुझे लगता है कि इससे चुनावी जो प्रक्रिया है उसमें पारदर्शिता आएगी।
DMK leader Edilan welcomed the Supreme Court's directive to disclose the names of the individuals and companies who bought the electoral bonds.
Landmark decisions by the Supreme Court. It indicates transparency in the entire process of electoral reforms, because see, the anonymity, who's sponsoring, who's funding, has to be declared open to the people. So I think if you take the data for the past 10 years, I think the ruling BJP has more than 60 to 70% of the electoral bond scheme, which they have attracted their party funds. So now it's high time Supreme Court has intervened and brought out this.
CPIM General Secretary Sitaram Yechuri also welcomed the verdict, stating that as petitioners in the case, their stand has been vindicated by the Supreme Court.
It's a welcome development. I mean, we are petitioners seeking the scrapping of electoral bonds. And the Supreme Court allowed us to be the petitioners because no other political party was. Because we are the only ones who had the locus standi. Because we never accepted electoral bonds. And we've always maintained, and even now maintain, that electoral bonds was the legalization of political corruption. And that is something we wanted scrapped, and we are very satisfied that most of the points that were raised in our contention, in our petition, have all been upheld.
This is the Inside Brand. You can subscribe our YouTube channel for more interesting stories. Now move on to the next story. Proponents of AI point to the immense benefits these tools could bring to society. But the clamor for robust regulations of AI is growing louder. Similarly, the car industry is forging ahead with plans to ramp up autonomous driving technology, promoting a safer future on the roads. But fears surrounding driverless robot cars persist.
People were announcing driverless cars within 4 years, and we always found it, very courageous to announce that. We know that this is very complex. Back in 2014, we started to work on automation. In 2015, our executive secretary called on for cooperation in policy brief, policy discussions, and also op-eds. We called everyone to join us and to make it happen. And we have today now everything in place in order to have discussions among authorities, vehicle manufacturers, and we are developing the rules for these vehicles.
And why is it so complicated?
There is an issue with the technical progress. We would like to have driverless vehicles. It's so hard actually because human drivers are able to do so complex things when they are driving. But also they fail. And you know that we have a drama, road safety, we have almost 1.2, 1.3 million fatalities per year, road safety. So, driving is difficult. And when it's about technology, engaging with humans is very complex.
But some people would say that human beings make more mistakes than machines would. But do you think there's an issue that we're more accepting of humans making mistakes than we would of, if an automated car, that something goes wrong and someone is injured or killed, it seems like we're much less tolerant of that because, as you say, road safety is a real issue. Human drivers are making mistakes every day.
It's difficult for me and as an engineer to talk about acceptance. What we try to do is really to create an environment and conditions with safety at first. We are trying to have technical requirements. We are trying to demonstrate the performance of automated technologies, and we hope that we will do better than humans. And of course, we have some kind of risk assessment in the background, but what we try to do as engineers is really to define the technical requirements for these vehicles.
Now, your working party brings together experts, it brings together countries. Where are we now in terms of that regulation? How far away do you think we really are from seeing many more smart cars on the road?
So the industry came up with 6 levels of automation. Level 0, which is zero automation, and then there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what we have today on the streets in many countries are level 2 technologies, which are basically driver assistance systems. So it means that the driver remains in control and the driver really, operate with the assistance, but is driving. Level 3, 4, and 5 will be with the automated driving system, driving the vehicle and performing what we call the DDT, the driving task. But we have today on the streets, on motorways, some level 3 technologies driving in traffic jam on motorways.
Assam Cabinet on February 23 repealed the Assam Muslim Marriage and Divorces Act 1935. CM Hemant Biswa Sharma took to acts and said that the move marks another significant step towards prohibiting child marriages. NASA Administrator Bill Nelson has announced that the Ingenuity Mars Helicopter has come to an end. The Ingenuity Mars Helicopter made history by achieving the first powered, controlled flight on another planet on April 19, 2021. Despite initial plans for up to 5 flights, the helicopter has exceeded expectations and executed an impressive 72 flights on the red planet.
It is bittersweet that I must announce that Ingenuity, the little helicopter that could, and it kept saying, I think I can, I think I can. Well, it has now taken its last flight on Mars. As it was coming down for landing, at least one of its carbon fiber rotor blades was damaged. We're investigating the possibility that the blade struck the ground. This is what the blade looks like. It's a special fiber with a special contour. That little helicopter could fly in a 1% atmosphere, not 100% atmosphere like we have on Earth. It cut through a 1% atmosphere and was able to fly. And what Ingenuity accomplished far exceeds what we thought possible. Almost 3 years ago, the helicopter made its first flight on the planet Mars.
Altimeter data confirms that Ingenuity has performed its first flight.
And living up to its name, Ingenuity made history as the first aircraft to make a powered, controlled flight on another planet. But then it flew farther and higher than we ever thought possible. And what started as a technology demonstration with plans for only up to 5 flights has now completed a remarkable 72 flights on Mars. And the innovation doesn't stop here. It acted as a scout for the Perseverance rover. It would go and check out sites. Ingenuity demonstrated how flight can enhance operational missions. And it's helping us in the search for life on Mars. And like the Wright brothers, what they did back here on Earth at the early part of the last century, Ingenuity has paved the way for future flight in our solar system. And it's leading the way for smarter, safer human missions to Mars and beyond.
After 2 years of war in Ukraine, European nations are urging America to lead and follow through on pledges of weapons and ammunition. A section of Congressional Republican Party linked to former President Donald Trump is said to be behind the impasse over essential supplies to Ukraine.
Outside the chamber of the United Nations Security Council, this was the image they needed to present. A show of unity 2 years since Russia invaded Ukraine.
I would like to thank all nations standing by Ukraine physically right now.
The Security Council is called to order.
In the chamber, blunt language from David Cameron, his first time here as Foreign Secretary, but with a confidence that seemed to hold the room.
If we give in to the idea that one country can invade another with impunity, then we will be left in a dreadful situation where any country could face a similar fate.
But behind the show of unity, there is a problem, and it is here in America.
The partisan divide.
Spelt out in Washington by a frustrated American president.
House of Representatives must pass the bipartisan national security bill. The bill provides urgent funding for Ukraine, and it passed overwhelmingly in the Senate. And there's no question, none. If the Speaker called for a vote in the House, it would pass easily today. Instead, they went on vacation.
It is months since America agreed to send weapons to Ukraine, held up by a Trumpian wing of the Republican Party who question the point of it all. And Sky News has seen firsthand this week in Ukraine how they are literally running out of weapons and ammunition.
How do you persuade an increasingly disengaged America that things like Ukraine matter? And if you can't, what then?
I think we can help to persuade Americans that this matters if we somehow let Putin eke out a win here. Of course, that's bad for European security. Of course, it's disastrous for Ukraine's security, but it's also bad for America's security.
It's striking that 2 years after the invasion of Ukraine, the message here at the United Nations has not been to Russia, but to America, Europe, trying to persuade a nation that usually leads that it needs to again.
Collectively, over the past 2 years, they have avoided the worst case. A much wider war has been feared many times. But how many?
As Tibetan mark 65 years since fleeing into exile, after an uprising against Chinese rule. The diaspora's elected leader says Beijing is crushing his people, but insists that hope of resolution remains.
And if you look at the policies of the Chinese government today, it's more like they're squeezing us. This is like a python squeezing us out of our breath slowly. That's why we are dying a slow death and people don't notice that. China controls Tibet with like an iron hand, and then they ask the whole international community to keep repeating what they want them to say. Then where's the reason for China to come and talk to us? The international community is helping China to remove the very ground for negotiation. So I chide my Chinese friends, saying, you are waiting for this Dalai Lama to die. You are not concerned about the living 14th, but you are more concerned about the yet to come 15th. Because you know that if you can control the Dalai Lama, you can control the Tibetan people.
Okay.
Right now, under the present circumstances, under President Xi Jinping's paranoid security concerns that exacerbates the whole situation where people are deprived of freedom, basic freedoms, there is nothing called permanent. Even Western psychology says change is the only constant. So nobody imagined that Berlin Wall would fall that fast, or Baltic states will gain independence and all that, but it happened in this lifetime.
Now we are at the end of today's Inside Prank. We will come next weekend. Until like, share and subscribe our YouTube channel. And for more updates, visit our website adctnews.com.